Washington. President Donald Trump has drawn a firm red line in America's role in Ukraine. Speaking on Tuesday, he ruled out the deployment of US ground troops, but left the door open to providing air support, a move that could significantly alter the balance of the conflict. The announcement came as Western allies began drafting potential security guarantees for Kyiv, with discussions intensifying ahead of a possible summit with Russia. Trump, a sharp critic of multi-billion-dollar US aid packages, insists European nations must carry the burden of troop commitments, while the United States considers its role from the air. At the White House, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt confirmed the president's position, noting that air operations remain on the table, though American boots will not touch Ukrainian soil. Meanwhile, US Chief of Staff General Dan Kane met with European military leaders in Washington to discuss frameworks for peace and security. This development comes as Trump once again categorically ruled out Ukraine joining NATO, aligning himself with Russian President Vladimir Putin's stance, even as European partners continue to argue that the invasion is rooted not in NATO policy, but in Moscow's rejection of Ukraine's independence. The stakes now rise as NATO military chiefs prepare for a high-level virtual meeting where Trump's position will define the contours of any future peace plan. US President Donald Trump on Tuesday ruled out sending US troops to Ukraine but considered extending air support. The Republican has been a vocal critic of multi-billion-dollar US aid to Ukraine and said in a Fox News interview that European nations would take the lead in sending troops to secure any peace deal between Moscow and Kyiv, an idea that France and Britain have considered. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. He made it clear there will be no US troops on the ground. Is the president considering deploying US troops in the air as a form of security guarantee? Leavitt. Look, that was something the president mentioned in his interview this morning. It's an option and a possibility. I'm not ruling anything out in terms of the military options that the president has available to him. I can tell you that he has definitely ruled out deploying troops on the ground. Meanwhile, US Chief of Staff General Dan Kane met in Washington with senior European military officials to discuss guarantees for a possible peace agreement in Ukraine. These talks precede the virtual meeting of NATO military leaders scheduled for Wednesday, in which Kane is expected to participate. President Trump gave his guarantee that no US ground troops will be deployed in Ukraine and categorically ruled out, once again, Kyiv's joining NATO. Trump has aligned himself with Putin, who rejects Ukraine's bid to join NATO, one of the reasons for the Russian invasion that began in 2022, in which tens of thousands of people have died. European leaders, Ukraine and Trump's predecessor Joe Biden dismissed the issue as a pretext and cited Putin's statements rejecting Ukraine's historical legitimacy as the reason.